Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Coline Witt, and today we have a very special guest, founder, owner of CRCD, Coalition of Responsible Community Development,
All right.
is in the building.
All right.
And how long has CRCD been around?
CRCD has been around. This year makes 20 years.
20 years.
Yes.
So a little backstory about Mark Wilson is I didn't even say your name, huh?
That's fine.
Founder Mark Wilson, owner of Coalition of Responsible Community Development, is in the building. It's an honor to have you guys. I've tried to get this interview for a couple of years now. That just goes to show, how much I wanted this interview, and you'll learn throughout this interview why. What Mark has done in the 20 years. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot to cover, so I want Mark to go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that CRCD has done. And just for a little sticker shock, guys, CRCD owns about $700 million in real estate primarily in South Central Los Angeles, which is if you even own a condo in Los Angeles and you're even fortunate to own one at all, you know how hard it is to possibly own one and how expensive it is, let alone to do that under a nonprofit.
So the Coalition for Responsible Community Development, CRCD, we are a not-for-profit community development corporation, so that our mission is to change lives and build neighborhoods responsibly. We do a lot of that work in workforce development. I'll go over a little bit about what we do after. A lot of workforce development, working with the state, the federal government, the County of Los Angeles and the City of Los Angeles, providing workforce development and employment training to our most vulnerable Angelenos, particularly those that reside in South LA. So this is foster youth, unhoused individuals, individuals returning to our communities from incarceration, and folks that have had difficult times finding employment. And we take them through a host of training programs with pathways to careers at their choice, of course, providing them with wraparound support services along the way. Because when you come from a vulnerable background, it's difficult to even keep a job. A lot of times it's not folks' fault that they didn't have a place to sleep that night. It's not folks' fault that somebody may have kicked them out because of their gender. It's not folks' fault on not having adequate transportation in the transportation system in their neighborhood so they can get to work on time. And so we provide those supports, what we call barrier supports or support services, so folks can have gainful employment and get on their feet. We also do affordable housing development, as you mentioned. We're now embarking on, over $700 million in real estate development in South Central LA. That makes up about 1,600 units of affordable housing in different phases of development. We have about 600 units in what we call in transition right now, meaning folks are actually moving in, and 20% of our housing is dedicated to formerly foster youth or young people that find themselves unhoused. Each of our buildings and projects, all based in South LA, have wraparound support services. So we actually have offices and staff at each of our building sites. So they're providing residents with opportunities to move into employment, move into other services, access to health care, and any other thing that will support them in moving their lives forward. And so we're proud of that, to be able to provide those, not only the housing, which is very affordable, usually targeting individuals that can move in a place where 30% of your average income is your rent, and it's subsidized by other government sources. So in LA, that's a really big deal.
And they're really nice buildings.
And they're really nice
I
buildings.
have to throw that in because when you
Thank
think
you.
subsidized, you think I pulled up on some of these buildings, and these buildings are absolutely stunning. You would drive by it and say, "This is a very nice building." And yes, when you do walk in, you do see the support.
Yes, and so we're proud of that. We have partnerships with the LA Community College District, so we provide services on site in partnership with colleges like Los Angeles Trade Tech Community College, East LA Community College, and Los Angeles Community College. At Los Angeles Trade Tech, we actually have office spaces there so we can work side by side with department chairs, recruiting students into opportunities for employment, particularly those that are on track to graduate with their AA degrees, to possibly pair them with career opportunities in that degree or in their major. So that's pretty exciting. We've had and withstand that partnership for about almost 14 years now.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes. We also partner with Youthville Charter School of California, so we manage charter school on the campus of LA Trade Tech, where we're working with young people 18 to 26 primarily. For whatever reason, they didn't complete traditional school, and so they find themselves at CRCD and go through CRCD Academy, where they earn a high school diploma and they're dual enrolled in the community college at the same time. So when they graduate, they're already in college, they're already on track, and a lot of them are already on career paths with CRCD.
Wow.
Yes.
And then to go back to workforce development, can you give me an example of some of the trades that you guys teach, or I guess teach?
Yes.
People?
And so 14 years ago, we created CRCD Enterprises, which is a separate entity. It's a for-profit entity that is now a general contractor licensed with the state of California. We're also licensed to do lead abatement and lead abatement training. And so young people that go through our workforce program, say particularly Youth Build. So we run the South LA Youth Build, or we are South LA Youth Build. That's part of the Youth Build Global International Network. And young people, they are enrolled in CRCD Academy, but then they have an opportunity to work side by side going through a multi-core curriculum that's approved. It's called MC3, and it's approved by the LA Orange County Building Trades. And so that's the labor unions. So they have an opportunity to learn about multiple trades, so plumbing, drywall, painting, pipe fitting, concrete, and then through that training, which is typically about 3 weeks or 3-4 weeks, or roughly.
I thought it was 8 weeks.
I
want to get in that program so bad.
Youth Build is 3 weeks, and then we have other trainings that are 8 weeks that are more apprenticeship based.
Oh, okay.
So for Youth Build, you do 300 hours. If the young person decides what trade they like, they have an opportunity to go through a pathway with a union to become an apprentice.
And the Youth Build age group is what age group?
That age group is 18 to 24 at entry.
Wow, you hear that, guys? So straight out of high school, you could pick a trade.
You can pick a trade as soon as you, while you're getting your diploma with CRCD Academy, you can actually be working on your trade. Okay. And receiving your high school diploma at the same time. Wow. And when you graduate, you can work more towards that trade because you will be a pre-apprentice because our training is approved by the union.
Wow. Yeah. Now, is there stipulations if they don't go to the charter school?
If they don't go to our charter school, there's no stipulation. You still can enroll in our MC3 training because we now have the Teresa McCoy Regional Infrastructure Development Training Center. So basically, it's a training center that we now run in the community. It's right off of 25th and Central Avenue. And any young person whether they go through Youth Build or just want to come through one of CRCD's workforce development training programs, they have access to going through these pathways.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Wow. And then would you say, I want to talk about race a little bit. When you think of South Central, you think of predominantly a certain race. What race would you say is the community that you tend to help more?
So,
Or what is that divide of that race?
so the community itself,
Mhm.
meaning residents that live there, are directly majority Latino.
Mhm.
I would say probably 85%.
Mhm.
In our programs, it's roughly 50% African American, 50% Latino.
Wow.
And we get a higher number of African Americans, unfortunately, um, because African Americans make up a high rate of the individuals that are returning to the community from prison.
Wow.
They are the majority of young people that are in the foster care system and that age out. Also, the majority of young people that are unhoused in LA. And because of those statistics and because we work with that population primarily, our African American numbers are higher um, than the racial in the community. So the community itself is 85% Latino, but we get about a 50-50 racial in the people that we serve.
Yeah, I worked with a startup that dealt with a lot of apartment buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with low income housing, I noticed when I would talk to property managers, what they were dealing with on a regular basis in mental illness or mental
Mm-hmm.
struggles was all over the spectrum. Like you had to have a whole different caliber of, I mean, you would assume that they were like numb to just so much trauma that
Mm-hmm.
these people go through. What do you guys do to deal with the mental illness of, because there's got to be some, I would
Oh, yeah.
imagine that's a
So
big part of the equation, right?
we're not a licensed therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about CRCD is we know how to partner. We know how to do what we do well, and then we know how to collaborate and partner with others that do their craft well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we partner with Kedron,
Mm-hmm.
which has a mental health hospital
Mm-hmm.
in South Los Angeles. They're actually working on building a new facility, I think, closer to Watts. And they have some of the best mental health professionals that I've ever worked with and I've ever seen. And so when we have cases, because we do have a housing and support services department that primarily works with young people. And unfortunately, a lot of young people are dealing with a lot of trauma that they've been dealing with for years, some of them decades. And having that partnership with Kedron really helps our coordinators to provide this young person with services, because every young person that come through our doors, because we have a drop-in center called Ruth Place.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Yes.
And
You have
so,
a drop-in center called Ruth's Place.
yes, it's a
Uh-huh.
youth drop-in center. So
Yes.
young people from anywhere. Usually we get young people from all over the city, not just South LA. And we're probably one of the few drop-in centers in the city of LA, particularly in South LA. So they drop in primarily looking for housing opportunities, and we have housing navigators. Individuals may come in needing mental health support, so we provide support to them by way of Kedron. Others may just be coming in for other services. Maybe they need to take a shower. Maybe they just need to park somewhere and take a nap because they've been up all night. Because a lot of young people do not like going into the shelters that are available that are primarily for adults. There's not many youth shelters.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't like that. And so they're in the parks, in the car if they have it, or they're walking around the streets because they're scared and terrified of going to sleep.
Wow.
And so we have a place where folks can come, and if they need to take a nap, they take a nap. And that's an entry point for us to see what other services they need. And these are folks that are not living in our apartment buildings and folks that we're connecting to what we call scatter site housing. So these are working with private apartment building owners, usually small mom and pop apartment building owners, 4 to 10 units.
Mm-hmm.
And we're master leasing buildings, and we're working rental or leasing arrangements with those owners and placing young people in housing.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
How many people does CRCD? I'm getting all of it.
No, get all up in.
How many people does CRCD employ?
So right now, today, because CRCD, the nonprofit, employs about 167
Wow.
full-time employees. We probably employ on part-time basis through different services or whatnot, another 2,000 to 3,000 people that come through our doors. Now, CRCD Enterprises, which is our for-profit and construction company, employs today about 250 individuals full-time. And then CRCD Partners, who does everything real estate development, and is also a for-profit entity, employs about 40 individuals. So altogether, if you do the math, we're employing about a little over 500 individuals. Can't do the math that quick. But
that's a lot. And there's a lot of arms.
Yes.
I'm genuinely curious what a day in the life of you is. Do you have 2 phones or 1?
I have 1 phone.
Okay.
They've tried to give me 2 phones, but I'm like, 1 is enough. And then I have to have an executive assistant that is more than just another phone, but she takes care of other things and people that's been trying to find me or need to find me.
So if you have your cell phone number, am I very lucky and fortunate to have this number?
I don't want to put it like that, but
yes,
you one of the lucky people.
Yes, I am. I feel cool now. I feel real cool.
Yeah.
After
you got a direct connect.
You
got a direct
I hit them
connect.
directly like, please,
Yes.
please. Because I think I did try the other ways, which is like going through other people. See? But if you go direct.
Direct
if
works.
You go direct. If you think about it, it worked best when I went direct.
It does. It does.
It does. So if you see him on the street, guys.
just hit me up.
So that's a huge footprint. What I think is crazy about LA, because I do work with like the LA Business Journal and all these guys, it's like I'm shocked sometimes that I don't see you on the cover of some of these magazines. I don't know if it's because you're not doing PR. You're just your footprint is pretty large.
Yeah, it's a number of things. I don't think I know I'm not doing a lot of PR because I'm typically focused on the work.
Yeah,
I've never been someone that like to be all in the videos and in front of newspapers. So I ride a little low. Even doing this is a little different for me.
I love it. I think you need to do more of it. I wonder does that help or hinder your fundraising processes?
I
would imagine you have to do some level of PR.
With fundraising, I do the conferences, I do the panel discussions, and I do those things, which helps to get our word and our message out. I do a lot of meetings with different foundations and things of that nature. So I would think that it may hinder it a bit because our message and what we do, a lot of folks still don't know.
Yeah, well, they're about to know now.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And so we're working on figuring out how to do better or be better at PR and communications. But for me, myself, I'm just more focused on the work. And then allow folks like the board and others to think about ways that we can kind of get out more and get in journals, get interviewed by different magazines, really, talk about the unique work that we're doing in South LA because it's tough work that the team is doing. It's not easy when you're managing contracts that have time limits on them and you have a young person or an adult that doesn't have a time limit on when they can get on their feet or when they can somehow overcome trauma. I mean, when you have a contract where they say you have 6 months to produce these results and you have someone that's just getting out that did 20 years, it's going to take more than 6 months to work with them. So, that's why, the work is difficult, and where there are opportunities for us to talk more about the work, we can be better at doing so because I know there's a lot more people that may want to support what we're doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Amazon ever hit you guys up?
I
I'm just curious because she's been making it rain all around Los Angeles.
I don't think they hit us up.
What?
And I
See?
can be mistaken, so I don't want to mistake openly. But I haven't seen anything.
Oh, you would know because I've heard stories. She dropped millions on some nonprofits. I was like, they just say they just get a random email.
I mean, I'm sure, but I haven't gotten a random.
Yeah, I think you would know.
Yeah, I would know.
I think you would know.
I think I would know. Now, when you refer to Amazon, or you
I'm talking about
Kinsey Scott.
Yeah, Kinsey Scott.
So I believe we did get support from McKinsey Scott.
Okay.
A couple of years ago.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, she better have made it.
Yeah, no. She good. They good folks.
You're like, hey, is it
I'm like,
Amazon or Kinsey?
I see a lot of Amazon packages that come in.
No. I was talking about her. No, because she definitely, I don't know, she definitely been making it rain on a lot of the nonprofits.
I mean, her support definitely helped us to move a lot of our real estate development efforts forward. A lot of people don't know. When we're doing these projects, you're putting, millions of dollars into them before you even see one dime back.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly raising money, doing applications. They're very complicated projects to put together. It's not like your typical real estate investment deal where you just buy, flip, or buy rent.
Yeah, because you guys break ground on a lot of your properties, right?
Break ground.
So you have to submit permit requests
everything.
And all that, right?
And so from acquisition to breaking ground to actually people moving in, it's typically a 4-year process.
Jeez.
For each project.
And then you're paying the whole time.
You're paying the whole time. You're paying those 20, 40 staff. You're paying for permits. You're paying for, engineering, architectural services, and a lot of legal fees.
Jeez.
Yeah. So affordable housing for the good people that do it all across the country don't get recognized enough for the actual difficulty that goes into it and expertise that needs to go into it to actually build a project for people that need affordable housing. Is very different than your typical real estate investment project. And that's honestly why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard. And it's because you have to put so many or go after so many different subsidies to make the project happen. So hats off to folks that do that work, including our team.
How long is a waiting list for you guys for your affordable housing?
So typically, unfortunately, on any given project, you'll have 500 to 2,000 people on the waiting list. And the waiting list is even more, probably, I don't know the exact, but we get a lot of referrals from Department of Mental Health. So they have a waiting list of thousands of folks.
Yeah.
We get on a waiting list with LASA. They refer people to our building, particularly young people. They have, hundreds, if not thousands of people on the waiting list. And that's why, our mayor, our governor, our council members continue to fight to try to bring in more resources for housing because there's not a lot of units to support the need.
Yeah.
So you have to build more.
Yeah.
And, our mayor has done things to cut down the wait time and the time it takes to actually build a housing project. But it's still not enough yet of buildings in the ground to support the needs. So you have a long waiting list. And that's throughout the state of California, not just the city of Los Angeles.
Wow. That's when you get a wait list, I'm guessing there's some kind of lottery process to help.
Unfortunately, I mean, a lot of us don't like the lottery process. Because people that we're working with directly or have worked with directly, we can say, hey, we can get you housing. So in fairness to people that have been waiting for sometimes years, there is a lottery process that's controlled by either the housing department or Department of Mental Health or one of the county agencies. And as you can imagine, they fill up pretty quickly.
Yeah. And with Ruth's Place, the drop-in center for youth, how does that whole process work? Is there like a huge wait list, or it's just a safe?
It's just a safe place you can drop in.
Okay. Is it like 24 hours or something?
No, no. So it is not a shelter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not open 24 hours. It's a 8 to 5 or 8 to 6,
Mm-hmm.
where folks can literally drop in, go through an intake process, be placed with a case manager, or if they just coming in to get some food or just want a place to relax, they can do that.
Okay.
So it's
It's just like
randomly
a safe
whoever,
place.
yeah,
Yeah.
safe place, whoever wants to come in.
And then if they come, I'm just saying this for all y'all listeners. So if they come in and you have, say, an issue in one area, transportation or food or housing or whatever, you go there, you get linked up with a case manager that
Hmm.
helps redirect you to help you get those services you need,
Correct.
at least temporarily, right?
Temporarily, and usually our staff is good at connecting folks to warm handouts. We don't like just saying, "Hey, go over here,
To go follow this
go follow
website.
this." Yeah,
And
it's usually referred to good groups that we work with, that have a relationship with our team,
Mhm.
and then folks are placed in good hands with them. And
Mhm.
usually it's a group, like Hopics or others,
Mhm.
that may provide resources for unhoused families. See, we don't do families,
Mhm.
and we don't do adults.
Okay.
And so when folks come in, they may be over the age of 24 years old. So
Mhm.
we have partners like them, and many others, that we can refer people to and help them get services.
Wow. That's a lot. So going back to my question, what's a day in the life?
Well, I mean, the day in the life. I mean, when you're managing your family, or as best I can,
Mhm.
um, and so a day in the life starts at 6 in the morning
Mhm.
and probably ends at about 6, no, about 9 at night,
Okay.
something like that.
I
And
thought you were gonna
so,
say 6 a.m.
yeah, no, sometimes it's longer than that. It depends on what's going on,
Mhm.
and everything scrunched in between is a lot of teams meeting, conference calls, meetings in person, meeting with funders, investors, legal teams, so forth. It depends on what's happening in the week, but every hour on the hour,
It's
there's
important.
something going on, and then you kind of sneak in some time for some grub, and
Speaking
maybe,
of grub,
yeah, speaking of, and maybe a happy hour. But
maybe a
usually
happy
the
hour.
happy hour turned into a meeting too. So
Dang,
yeah,
dang.
so
Be
it's
like,
all
take a
day.
shot of this.
Yeah.
Did you take your shot yet? We're about to tell you something really important, and you
Right,
may not like it. You ever
right,
get those?
right,
Like,
right.
just meet me. Well, just tell me on the phone. No, no, you going to happy hour later. Let's wait till after happy
Yeah,
hour to
I
talk
mean,
about it.
in the earlier days, you got a lot more of those calls. Nowadays, it's more so, because they want us to do more.
Yeah.
And so that's a good feeling to actually be at that place, where you kind of the go-to organization, or at least one of them,
Yeah.
that people can go to and depend on. And so, because people know we're already doing a lot, sometimes a shot can help get to a yes.
Smart, smart. I'll take a note in the back of my mind. Now that everyone is caught up to who you are today, I had to give you a backstory because you don't do a lot of PR. So we are again. Thank you for coming on the show. Now I'm gonna take us back to who you were back when, way back, way back. So tell me what you're gonna have me eat today. Something you ate when you were broke.
So, the easy, and you can't go wrong in LA, especially when you're broke, without going to tacos.
Tacos.
And so we're gonna have some chicken tacos today on flour tortilla shells.
Mhm.
We're gonna mix in some cilantro, some salsa, green and red, or your
Mhm.
choice, with some regular white onions.
Okay.
And then if you like cheese, once done, you can sprinkle some of that on with some additional hot sauce.
Yeah, this is good. By the way, we've had some guests do some taco type dishes, and so I went in our fridge. I found this.
Oh,
They
okay.
said some
That's
people
hot,
crave
hot.
on that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I've
good
tried.
stuff.
I've tried it.
Yeah.
But go ahead, get yourself in the kitchen.
Okay.
I don't know if we put the right seasonings out for you. If we have it, it's okay because we could call cut and get
No,
you
seem
whatever season.
like
We got
we're working
Lowry's,
with enough. We
Tony's.
got some
Do
Creole.
you
We
need
got some
Polo's chicken seasoning?
seasoning. Nah, we're good. There's some
Really?
work, yeah.
Okay. So take me back to what was going on. Take me all the way back. I want to go broke. You.
So
Take
my
me back to what was going on when you were eating
so
tacos.
my mom and dad, I was fortunate to grow up in a two-parent household, and both my parents were from the South. So my father, was from Harris County, Georgia, and my mom was from Texarkana, Arkansas. Even though they say it's Texas, but I kind of remind them that it's Arkansas. But because of their background, we ate a lot of different Southern food, and one of them was tacos. I mean, it's not traditional LA style tacos. It's more like ground turkey, ground chicken, ground everything.
Yeah.
I think because it just stretch out a little longer.
Yeah.
And you just kind of eat on that for probably a few days. And my dad, because he was a good country boy, busted up the concrete in the backyard and built out a garden. So
wow.
he would make his own tomatoes and squash and cucumbers. I think we grew watermelon at season and strawberries and so that's where it goes back to and remind me of my elementary or childhood days of eating tacos, and it'll be tacos one day, it'll be a burrito the next day, but it'll be the same meat.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. Because ground turkey, you could do tacos, then spaghetti, then
Yep.
You just mix
You can mix it up.
You can mix it up.
It wasn't no waste. Let's just say that. And so that's what it always remind me of. And my grandmother and my aunties, they were good cooks, and and so it was just, who made the best burrito, or like my auntie Debbie, rest in peace, but she made the best chunky beef burritos.
Okay.
Still to this day, I don't know how it was made, but it was good.
And then what did they do for work?
So my father was a contractor. He was a contractor, more of like a foreman, superintendent. He was the hands-on guy. Probably built a lot of the early shopping centers in South LA. Did a lot of brick mason work, so a lot of the walls and other concrete-related work in LA. My dad was part of. He wasn't just one trade. He knew all of the trades. And so that inspired me as a young boy when he told me, we had to get up and go to work when we were young. So it wasn't no get up and go outside and play. Not for me and my sister. We had to get up, clean the backyard, wash the dishes, and that's because he had a strong work ethic. Early on, when helping around, things that needed to be repaired in the house, he figured out probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old that construction wasn't going to be for me, meaning the actual being a construction worker wasn't going to be for me. And so I'm going to season this a little different, but just work with me here a little bit.
I'm working with you. When was the last time you cooked? Just
probably about a couple of days ago.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't tacos though.
Okay.
So he would, instill in me that I needed to use my brain to actually get a career or whatnot, because these hammers and nails is not going to work for you. And he was right. My little brother, different. He grew up and became an electrician, and now owns his own electrician company in Las Vegas. And so and my mom, she did a lot of different things, definitely running the household, but she also was into insurance, and she worked at a lot of different department stores, but I always know her as being the general manager of the house.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So she ran the home.
She ran the home. She took care of business. She went out and worked, but she always took care of business. Because when you're working in construction, before I may say global warming got into effect. It used to be when I was young, we actually had seasons in LA. You had your summer, you knew when it was going to rain. They actually used to sell raincoats in the department stores. They don't no more. You got to find it or go online.
Yeah.
But it was like racks and racks of like rain gear
Yeah.
that you don't find as much today, you
Yeah.
know. And so when it rained, my father didn't work.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was my mom that had to pick up the slack,
Oh, because it
you
would be
know,
like a whole season.
whole
That makes it.
season without working
Yeah.
because they couldn't work in the rain.
Yeah.
And so, you know, my mom would be there to pick up the slack, make sure, you know, when we were young, we didn't know no difference. I mean, there was not like it wasn't no food on the table.
Mhm.
She knew how to stretch things.
Okay.
You know, it never was like lights didn't go off or
Did they
bills
ever
wasn't
talk
paid.
about? Did you ever hear them argue about money, or
No,
it was seamless?
never heard them arguing about money or anything like that. It was seamless. We would, you know, you just have to like, they were the old school managing the household budget.
Mhm.
You know, there were times you just didn't get certain things, but we didn't ever go without nothing.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I don't ever remember. I didn't really like to wear a lot of fancy tennis shoes and clothes anyway. When I was in elementary, I used to tell my mom just buy me some dress shoes
Why
and
dress shoes?
slacks. I just like to do that.
You like to dress in slacks.
Slacks.
Did you see your dad dressing like that?
Nope.
Oh, that's why your dad had your number
Yeah,
pegged early.
yeah. I used to give speeches when I was a young kid. So, you know, I would go on, I call a circuit tour to a lot of the black churches in the neighborhood.
Oh,
And
you for real?
I for real. And I used to give speeches and inspiring other young people at that time. And so to go to church, you had to wear slacks. And,
Yeah.
you know, at least I
So you
thought.
took this real serious.
And I took it real serious in the second grade. So second grade through sixth grade, that was my thing.
Did you know then what you kind of wanted to do?
When I got to high school, and I went to school all in South LA, by the way,
Mhm.
you know, I started wanting to be a school teacher, an
Okay.
elementary school teacher, because when I was in elementary school, there was only one black male teacher.
Mhm.
From kindergarten to sixth grade.
Mhm.
I only seen one, maybe two male black teachers. And I knew by high school what male teachers, how they influence positively young black men.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to be a teacher.
Mhm.
That was my thing. I figure I'd go to Cal State Dominguez Hills. That's where a lot of the teachers went, or El Camino to start. You know, so that's what I wanted to do. And then 1992 hit.
What happened in 1992?
The uprising, or what people will say the riots
Okay.
of 92. And in my neighborhood, you know, I watched a lot of the buildings where I used to run down the street and shop at, or, you know, commercial corridors when we moved in the neighborhood in 1979, burned down. You know, 30 years later,
Yeah.
we happen to have a project that is about to open right there on the same corner of Vermont and Manchester in South LA,
Wow.
which is pretty exciting. But back then, in 1992, being in high school, it changed me. I saw the disproportionate investment in resources in our community as well as in young people. And so from that moment, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with young people. I wanted to become an advocate for change. That's what I started wanting to do because I couldn't believe our community was burning, and I couldn't believe what appeared to be at the time people letting it burn. And I'm not talking about the people that live there.
You're talking about like government and police, or
Just the investment, politics at the time, they're very different today. The undercurrent of racism. You know, I mean, we were called in the news media at the time thugs, you know, criminals, you know, things, of course, that they don't do as much today. They hide it a little more. But then they were pretty blatant. And that's how they described us. And they said, oh, they burning their community. Why would they burn their community? Well, people in that community at the time didn't feel like those businesses were their businesses. They were mistreated a lot of times. I'm not making up excuses
No, well,
because,
actually, it's good
you
to have
know,
that
you
because
know,
of course that's a obvious question to ask, but
yeah,
that's an answer that nobody would think,
yeah.
right?
I mean, people didn't feel like they had a connection to those businesses, right? A lot of times people were mistreated when they went in those businesses. You had Natasha Harlan that was unfortunately murdered, and her killer was given probation. This was before Rodney King.
Yeah,
And so all of this buildup was happening, and people didn't feel like those businesses were reflections of them. And so that's why it wasn't felt as if people were burning their own communities. Now, the unfortunate things is there are a lot of Korean Americans, Koreans that lost lifetimes of investments that they put in. And that's absolutely, heart wrenching and it's terrible. But the flip of the coin is that a lot of folks didn't feel that way. But there was just some plain on looting and
yeah.
just illegal activity as well. And as a young man, I was flat dab in it, right in it. Not participating, of course,
Yeah.
but in it because I was witnessing something that was going to be with me for the rest of my life. And it actually changed your trajectory of what I wanted to do as a career. And so that's when I started working more with young people and looking at things that I can do more to support the community. I even started working with my Korean American and Asian brothers and sisters as well, particularly groups like the Korean Youth and Community Center, KYCC, still doing good work today. Worked with a lot of them, doing some community healing work, bringing Black and Korean communities together. So part of that solution, the healing, is what I wanted to do as well. So I work with Korean youth, work with Latino youth, a lot of young people that were in the gangs, a lot of people who don't know that Koreans gangbang too,
Oh,
you
I would
know.
never know that. Yeah, I would have never guessed. Yeah.
And so, we had programs to address gang violence with Koreans, Latinos, and African Americans, and
Yeah.
so, but it was 1992 that sparked something in me that said I needed to do more for community. And from just working with youth, spun off this whole notion and ideal I had around, well, that young person need a job.
Yeah.
Well, that young person is going to need somewhere to live. That young person may want to own a business one day.
Yeah.
And so that's when the economic development piece came along with my journey.
But before we get to that part, take me back to okay, so you find out in 1992 that now you have this sense of purpose involved around youth. What is the first job or the first direction you take, and like what are those first conversations with your parents looking like?
So, I mean, with my mom and dad, they never said you need to do this. I mean, basically, Black folks from the country, they want you to be doing something positive, get your education, so you can get a job, But, curves happen in life. And one of the curves that happened outside of 1992 is that a few short years later, I found out I was going to be a young father. And so that changed me.
A young father, how old are you? Like in your early 20s at this point, or
I
are you still fresh out of high
am
school?
fresh out of high school.
Oh my
in high
goodness.
school. So I am now 18 years old, about to be a father, following the 1992 riots uprising, and
And your parents weren't.
they was upset. Oh, no doubt. Because that wasn't the direction that they thought I was
my
going in. They
goodness.
thought I'm going to college, I'm going to do this thing, I'm doing that. Was accepted into Dominguez Hills, and so they thought, hey, you doing what you said you wanted to do, and now you didn't threw this into the mix.
I did not, just so you know, did not see this coming.
Oh, Little
By the way,
surprises for you
yeah,
too, huh?
yeah, I did not see that plot twist. I'm so glad I said rewind. Did you
Yeah.
catch me? Like,
Yeah.
don't be skipping those steps. Don't forget to hit your flour. I'm over here
Oh
kitchen
yeah,
cooking. I'm hungry.
so I just want to make sure, do you like it hard or
However
I
you
mean,
eat
I
it.
just don't want to, because
However,
it's chicken. I
it's
mean, you don't
chicken. You
want
can't
to,
really mess it up.
you
As
can't
long as it's
mess it
cooked
up,
through.
but yeah, that's what I mean.
As long as it ain't pink.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just want to make sure, because I ain't gonna do you like I do at home and be tasting it while I'm cooking.
We ain't getting sidebarred by you being a teen dad, okay?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So yes, I was a teen dad.
So you was a teen dad to a
Correct.
boy or a girl?
To a girl, beautiful
Oh
girl.
my.
Name Imani.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not. When I say I did not know this
Yeah.
plot twist. Okay. So you become a dad. What's the first job? Are you still living at home? I got so
I
many
am
questions.
still living at home. Because I never, so I'm still living at home because I was supposed to live on the dorms. I tried living on the dorms for a minute, but I needed to figure out how I was going to earn money. I didn't want to borrow money from my mom and dad, and didn't want to feel like I was taking advantage of them. I wanted to get out there and work, and so I did. And I got odd jobs, working, for this store or this group, or, at the time, because I'm still a youth,
Yeah.
I qualified for summer youth employment. So I did that. But, of course, that wasn't enough. And, worked at Staples. A friend of mine at the time had got me a job working with him. I did very well there. Thought maybe I can do some work there, but I still was passionate about wanting to work in the community and work with youth. And so this couple, or not couple, but folks came in to the store, and I helped them because I was real passionate about everyone that comes in, need a computer.
Yeah.
So that was my goal. Everyone that comes in, they need to buy a computer.
Okay.
So I think I was a pretty good salesman.
Okay.
Everyone didn't buy a computer, by the way, but they went and looked at it.
Okay. Hey.
And so those two individuals, they worked for a group called the Martin Luther King Legacy Association, which was under the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. So part of the resources that came out of Washington, D.C. to support South L.A. under the Clinton administration, they were able to form an organization, a youth organization called Youth Empowerment Project. And so they told me, hey, well, we may have something for you, because I was just telling them what I want to do. And they were like, you would be good at maybe you come for an interview. I said, when can I come? They said, well, if you got time today. So that day I went in my uniform, my Staples uniform, and went to that interview. And then they set up for a second interview to meet with the other staff. And after meeting with them, I got the job. And there went my career as far as working with youth. I stayed with that organization doing everything, working with Black and Brown.
Yeah.
That's when I started working with Korean youth and Korean communities and Latino communities. I started doing community gardens. I was doing everything.
And what was your initial intake job when you first came on?
So I was the program assistant.
Okay.
So I would assist the coordinator at the time.
Okay.
And we ran youth leadership programs at the time, which I thought was very good. It worked with a lot of young people that, to me, had every sense of being on track of going to college. But that wasn't the majority population in the community that I found out about, because I started walking the community, knocking on doors. You got a black boy walking on doors, don't speak a lick of Spanish, but talking to Spanish-speaking people about the things that we do in the community.
About the services that you guys provided?
Services that we
Okay.
provided, and that's when I learned that kids were gang banging, they wasn't in school, and then I'm coming back to the organization like, we don't have why don't we have programs to serve these young people? And then they had to be created, so I created them.
Wow.
Because at the time, the funding was only for that leadership program that that supported young people And it was a good program that was on track of going to college. And that was okay to me.
Yeah.
That was okay. That was a good program. But if you want to change the needle or move the needle in any community, you got to go work with the people on the
Yeah.
ground
Yeah.
that's participating in things that are, let's say, causing a disruption in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so I chose to work with the black and the brown gang members and create leadership programs for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was under the MLK.
Yep.
Okay.
That was under Martin Luther King
And you
Legacy
were
Association.
and you were with this organization for how long?
I was at this organization for about 4.5 years. So when I left the organization, I was the director.
Okay.
So I went from program assistant through all the
So you
other
went all the way up
positions.
in
Yep.
4 years. That's great.
In 4 years. So I became director at the age of 23.
And then why do you leave?
So I left because the organization started changing, not necessarily SCLC, but leadership shifted. There was more of a focus around advocacy and things of that nature. It was less focus on kind of the work I wanted to do, and then I had an opportunity to do more economic development work. So that's when I went over to Dunbar Economic Development Corporation on historic South Central Avenue.
And then for people that don't understand what economic development work means, can you break that down?
So economic development work to me is a combination of, or community economic development work, so work that's driven by the community to build business, to look at ways to channel financial and other resources in the community that helps with home ownership, helps with business ownership, helps with job creation, and create engines around the community where that can fester best.
Wow.
And so that's what I wanted to do, as well as continue to do youth development work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to this new organization. I would assume that you enter in at director or higher level.
I went in as the director of community development.
Okay.
So that was a pretty big deal for me because it allowed me to work with or alongside the director of urban development,
Okay.
which did a lot of the real estate development work for the organization.
And this is your 23. You're pacing very well for us,
Yeah.
daddy.
Yeah, and my daughter, I'm still raising her, dealing with a little bit of, or a lot of bit of baby mama drama.
I was about to say. So
oh,
did
you
you
can't read that.
did you end up marrying your?
I did not.
Okay. Okay.
I did not.
You guys did the co-parenting thing?
We did the co-parenting thing. We did the co-courting thing.
Co-courting?
Meaning lots of going to court.
Oh,
because
co-courting.
I didn't want to just pay child support. Didn't mind it. But I think, quite frankly, it was abused on me because I wasn't dad that wasn't taking care of my daughter.
Yeah.
I was there. It wasn't like I was the guy you had to go find, or things that I hate today where people say, well, I got to go watch my child. How do you watch your child? It's your child.
Yeah.
You're going to be with your child.
Yeah.
Well, I paid child support. I bought diapers. The kid need diapers. I mean,
Yeah.
so it was more than that for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, so I just felt like it was a unfair kind of thing to me, but I understand. So as a young man, you don't get it as much as you would as an adult. I wouldn't probably deal with some of the things that I dealt with then. So we did our co-parenting, as you call it, but she spent a lot of time with me, to a point, probably too much, some people would say. But I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Because I figured, if I'm going to go on a date, you want to go on a date with me, then you got to go with me and my daughter.
Oh my goodness! I just became a single parent, and I still don't know how to navigate that.
I ain't saying I was good at it.
Oh, okay.
I said my navigation was, quite frankly, giving shouts out to my auntie, to my mom, to my sister. I had support, and I know that's tough because a lot of folks don't have that support, and I had the support. So when I needed to go to work, I had someone that would watch my daughter.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go out for the weekend, I had someone that would watch my
Okay,
daughter.
okay.
She was a very good baby. People used to call me to ask, can they watch her?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I had that support.
Okay.
But I didn't want financial support. I needed the moral and support needed to help me do
Yeah,
that. And that's a
yeah.
big thing,
That's a
you
huge
know,
thing. That's worth more
huge.
than money, to be
Oh, yeah,
honest.
no,
You can have
honestly.
a trusted caregiver
Oh, man.
that your kid likes.
That
Oh,
they
that's a
like, oh,
win-win.
she loved. And it was a win-win. It
Okay,
was a
so
win-win.
you're
Are
a
you
daddy
interested
and
in
you're
some cheese and
yeah.
all of
You
that
got to
good
make two.
stuff?
You got to make yourself one.
Okay.
Here, do you?
I'm going to get you
got
out the
plates?
way on this one.
Um, so you're a young guy moving in all the right directions.
Uh-huh.
You're
I
at
think.
the Dunbar
Economic development.
economic development. I'm not trying to give them too much shine,
Yep.
but so how long are you there before you I want to get closer to CRCD.
So
land.
I'm there about 4.5 years.
Okay.
Um, the organization at the time was going through some financial challenges, and a lot of us voiced our opinions, not to the liking of the leadership at the time, and so a few of the key people was let go, including myself, and so what happened was there was a vacuum in the community because there wasn't a lot of groups providing those services in the neighborhood for young people, right? So there was a vacuum. So we left, and now you have, no services offered to young people.
So when you left, the company didn't shut down; they just stopped providing the services.
Yeah, because we were gone.
Oh shoot!
And
And
not
when
in
you say
this,
we, how many people did they lose?
so they lost me and the director of urban development, and then the director of youth development left as well.
Oh geez.
So those were three key
Players.
positions. Yeah. Try not to do this the way I do it at home. So
This looks very, very pretty, by the way.
So,
I'm very impressed with you, Mark.
So just forgive me.
I'm very impressed. Look at this, guys. Here,
So
look at that.
we left, and a group of us, about 5 of us, because they end up leaving or getting fired too, left. And, we started meeting right away. I call it, we went in the laboratory right away and said that, we all could have gotten jobs. I wouldn't say anywhere, but let's say we were sought after people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because people saw our passion and what we did for that organization in a very short time, because they were just known for doing kind of historic and other development at the time, maybe some projects here and there. But when we all got together, it turned into something much more beautiful in the community, I think. Working with small businesses, doing home ownership stuff, looking at other real estate possibilities, rehabbing of historic landmarks, youth leadership development. We took youth to like 2 or 3 different countries.
And this is prior to you guys leaving, right?
Prior to us
So
leaving.
you guys, this is just so everyone knows, this is the rumor mill. When you hear little bits of people in someone's story.
Yeah.
This is the part of your story that excited me the most for any little bit of tidbits on the street that I heard. So now I can finally find out the truth, from the horse's mouth. So this is a very interesting place. So just to recap. A group of you guys, some of you guys got let go, some of you guys left. You guys, instead of going, hey, let's pitch our jobs to different places that definitely desire us, we're going to get together and meet. Tell me about, I know this is where CRCD starts to get birthed. So walk me through the whole play on everything's going down, including your emotions at the time.
So, of course, we were all pissed off because of the void that was in the neighborhood. Primarily, we were all thinking about the people, really not ourselves at the time. I'm a young man at this time. I'm probably 26, 27. And so we're pissed. And the truth is we had thought about something like this happening because of the way that the organization was moving. and things that were happening, IRS showing up to the office, things like that you normally don't see. um, and we got together at one of the co-founders, Noemi Soto's house. She lived in City Terrace at the time, which is near Cal State, Los Angeles. Lived in this hill where you got to climb up like 80 steps, or it felt like 200. And we would go there every day after we were let go and talk about our vision for the community. Sort of like a reimagining a group that popped up in the community. What would it be? Mm-hmm. We went through what would it be, what should it be, what should it be doing.
And you met with the co-founder of the company that let you guys go. That's an interesting.
Yes, it was co-founders. We all worked at Dunbar.
Mm-hmm.
All of us.
But did she still work there?
No, everybody.
Oh, so she was a co-founder that also got let go. Okay.
And she was the one that was running the youth programming at the time.
Okay.
And so she opened up her home, her living room, and we met at her dining room table, circle table, and we would meet around there with some butcher paper and markers every day, talking about or reimagining what would an organization be. And we talked about we should be providing jobs, so workforce development. We talked about economic development, working with small businesses, real estate development, doing affordable housing. We wanted to do social entrepreneurship. So that's when we put on there social enterprise, because before I left Dunbar, I was trying to convince them to do social enterprise work. Never got off the ground. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to do education. We wanted to figure out a way to have a school that focused on hard-to-serve young people. Mm-hmm. And we came up with different names. But what we landed with was Coalition for Responsible Community Development. And the story goes, we used to go to a bar called 410 Boyd. It's in downtown Los Angeles on a street called Boyd, and the address was 410. Mm-hmm. So creatively, I guess they created 410 Boyd. And we would meet there after we left her house and met up with other people that necessarily didn't work at the Dunbar, but used to be funders of the Dunbar, bankers of the Dunbar, that kind of stuff. But they liked us, and they loved this concept, like, you guys are gonna do what? So we literally took a napkin, and it was a designer there, and we said, well, we want it to be called like Coalition for, but we have to have responsible in there.
Yeah.
And
I love that part, yeah.
It has to be responsible, and it has to be community in it. And then that's when CRCD was birthed on that napkin, the name. And then the designer at the time, her name was Zelda Harris, she designed our logo right on the napkin. She said, what do you want? I said, it should be like some colors and some boxes or something like that. That's all I got. And the group agreed, and that's when she came up with our logo.
So there's a group. How do you become the lead of the group?
So they thought I should be the executive director. Mind you, we had nothing, no budget, no nothing. And I said, well, I'll do it, but you guys got to vote for it to happen so it can be our official first action. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want it, that's fine. I'll play my part. Mm-hmm. And they all voted and said, no, you doing it. And that's how I became the executive director 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the funders that you would meet up with ended up funding and helping getting it off the ground.
Getting it, helping us. There was a contract that Dunbar was running at the time, called, and you may be familiar with this, graffiti removal.
Oh, graffiti, yes.
And so
they still do graffiti removal.
We do.
Yeah. Well, you guys do.
Yeah.
Is Dunbar even still around?
No, they went out of business. And
your plot twists are hilarious.
So we because they were having challenges running that contract, we had an opportunity and was asked, do we want to take on the contract? Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm like, yeah, we can do that. Eyes closed. Had a good brother named Bruce Saito, who was running the Los Angeles Conservation Corps at the time, that said, we'll step up.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys get the contract, we'll manage it for
Mm-hmm.
you while you get set up.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wonderful thing. Councilwoman Jan Perry at the time,
Yeah, let me get you
you know, Councilwoman Jan Perry at the time.
No, I was saying for
who
your
needed-
head. You swaying over here.
I'm trying to clean
Tryna
up.
Make sure you
So-
camera ready.
So one of the
Yeah.
things, sorry, I sweat over when
The
I'm cooking.
stove.
Yeah, but also one of the things I do when I'm cooking is I like to clean up when I'm
I
cooking.
do too. I do too. I'm one of those. Like,
So I apologize.
yeah.
So Councilwoman Jan Perry was also instrumental. So Bruce Saito, Councilwoman Jan Perry were instrumental in CRCD getting started.
Wow.
If it wasn't for them providing political support and organizational support and just being a cheerleader for us, it wouldn't have happened. So we were a brand new group with a $400,000 contract,
Wow.
to start.
And what was your first project? Was the graffiti removal?
Was graffiti abatement. We wasn't doing real estate. We wasn't doing anything. Everything started at CRCD because of graffiti removal.
And at this point, when you take on these contracts, are you taking a pay cut too?
Yeah, of course.
And are your parents still
Entrepreneur.
around? Are they saying? He's like, my first crash course in entrepreneurship is no pay.
Yep. So took a pay cut.
Mm-hmm.
That was okay. At the time, I was living on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of my daughter. It was enough to help me take care of my folks.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was enough for me, Then later in life, I was able to move in with someone. And that's what the story. We started our youth program and we started our
You said this is
all
20
of our
years
work
ago?
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Have you guys celebrated your 20-year anniversary?
We'll be celebrating it next year. So they're working on it this year.
Oh.
You
I'm
might
gonna help
want to
with
call
that.
them.
I'm gonna call them ASAP.
Yeah.
You gotta do it huge.
Yeah,
That's a huge accomplishment.
it is.
Now, do you ever look back and just like, oh, snap?
Sometime every day. Like, I can't believe that we was able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't nothing small. And I asked a couple of people, I said, you think we can do that today? And the answer is always like, no. No way. Because the stars had to align themselves, right? The right people had to be there. The right supporters needed to be there. The right circumstances need to be there. So like with any entrepreneur, it's like, here's the moment where I got to jump. I got to jump off this bridge and hope that blue thing is water. And that's what we did. It was just everything was at the right time. And then, I was 27 years old, at the time when we started. Mm-hmm. And, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm 27-year-old in today's climate, will we get that same kind of support? Probably not.
Why do you think that's so? What's different between then and now?
I think the circumstances then, technology then, the way that people access services then is very different now. Mm-hmm. Social media, I think, could have come in and created all types of other narratives. Mm-hmm. We were able to create our own narrative because there was no social media then.
Yeah.
So we were able to go to meetings. We were able to debunk any lies that were told about us from our previous employer. We were able to do that face to face, phone call to phone call. Wasn't no social media. I think if social media was around, people could have created a false narrative.
Yeah. They
could have
put out like a press release
exactly,
of sorts.
Exactly. And I don't think in today's time that would have helped us. It would have,
you need this thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to be fancy here.
I'm trying to fancy. These tacos look good. Turn off the stove, sit down. You done told your whole life story.
Almost.
Almost.
Hopefully I didn't bore you.
That is far from boring. Okay, so we are back. Dishes plated. This looks like the best taco I've ever had in LA.
Well, we shall see.
We shall see. Okay, you put the sauces on it. Do you need any extra sauces?
No.
Okay,
no,
I like that you melted the cheese. Is this the right size taco shell?
They could be a little smaller.
Okay,
but this
I didn't know
works.
what.
No, it works.
I actually do the shopping for this show.
No, it works. Some people like them smaller.
Mm. Mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I can dig it.
it's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
seasoned it. I thought for a second you were gonna grill the onions, but they're perfect just the way they are.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a second bite, guys,
Go for it.
because it's good. There you go. Great job.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. For all y'all listeners, not only can he build an empire, he can cook a broke dish.
I'm glad you liked it.
Budget friendly, delicious. You added salsa. I'm gonna add more.
Very good.
Now, do you also think that a part of why you possibly couldn't do what you did today is because I think, and I have this opinion, but I'm curious to see what you say. You were 27 when you did a lot of these things. And sometimes I feel like life, I don't know if you want some of this, life beats you up along the way where you stop to doubt things. Do you think that you being young kind of had that, knowing what you know now, do you think that if you knew what you knew now, you would have had the gun-ho to do what you did?
Not knowing probably helped kind of motivate him move more. The unknown was exciting to me. The possibility was exciting to me. So not knowing actually helped. And just being open to learning, and being, having good mentors that was willing to mentor me. They will say, hey, no, they didn't mentor me, but they did. They opened up their offices. They opened up their back offices. And as much as I wanted to learn, they wanted to teach and expose me because I didn't want to be told. I wanted to be showed. And so in running any nonprofit is really the misnomer is that it was nonprofit or you're selling cookies, you're doing the good for the community, and then everything around you somehow is discounted. And that's absolutely false. A nonprofit is nothing but a tax code, 501c3. You still have to operate and maintain a business. If you don't pay your taxes, Uncle Sam will show up to your business and shut you down if you don't. And so everything that any for-profit has to do, a nonprofit has to do, but even more because we have to report on every dollar that we receive, public and non-public. And a lot of for-profits don't. And so we have to go through that rigor of understanding that we're a business. And so I had mentors to show me the business side, the appropriate business side of running a nonprofit while you want to be mission oriented. So I started off with the pursuit of approaching this as an entrepreneur, not as someone that is a social service worker or anything like that. My drive in my heart was community, young people, making change, making a difference. But as far as building an organization, it was very much from an entrepreneurial landscape.
Yeah. Now, some of the partners that you partner with are impressive in their own right. Prime Store, who we rent from today. Were there ever any partners that you partnered with where you were like, please God, let this happen, and oh my God, I can't believe they did this?
I think one of the, when you say that, I go to Little Tokyo Service Center, which is based in Little Tokyo, primarily focused around supporting and helping the Asian Pacific Islander community. But they were my boys and my girls, my sisters and brothers. We used to hang out at the same bar. This bar come up a lot, by the way.
Is it the 1410?
410 Boyd.
Is it still there?
So it's not there in the 410 Boyd, but
is it the bar that
but
I
the
think
bar
I
is
know
there. Yeah, the
you could,
Escondite or something like that. Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up.
yeah. It's still there, but it's not called 410 Boyd anymore.
Okay.
So that was their after work hangout because it was right around the corner, and it was our after work hangout. And so we built this relationship and bond. And so when CRCD was formed and wanted to get into real estate, a lot of doors were shut. Went to a lot of African American partners, and they didn't necessarily want to make that step at the time. But Little Tokyo did. And what I mean by step, that means they're putting their money on the line, their reputations on the line, their balance sheet on the line, all of that on the line, and they're signing for you as a guarantor for your real estate deal. And these were Asian, Japanese brothers and sisters that said, you know what? I like and support your mission. It aligns with what we want to do. Let's do it. And we did.
Was that your first partnership?
First partnership.
Oh my goodness.
First partnership.
Okay.
That turned into many other projects since. You know, that 10-unit project that they decided to help us invest in and help us develop and teach us how to be good developers has manifested into over 1,600 units now today.
Wow.
And we've done three now, doing another one now. So 4 projects with Little Tokyo Service Center since.
And you went home that day after that partnership, like, were you like,
I was so excited. I mean, just like what you said, like, holy shit, like, this is real.
This is
like,
real.
Because I knew what that would do for the organization, but I think it was more real to me for this community to believe in me, because all I had was a vision and passion. We didn't have any resources.
Yeah.
We didn't have any guarantors.
Yeah.
It was just
Did you guys
passion.
have good credit then?
We had good credibility.
And
you know, and we had good relationships, and we had good political relationships that I think they felt could be beneficial to them as well. But still, when pen hits paper, they took a leap of faith. And that leap of faith has helped us to be where we are today. So I owe a lot of credit and give a lot of props to my brothers and sisters over at Little Tokyo Service Center.
Shout outs to them, because without that, they were your first partner.
Yeah.
Now, I started my first business when I was 21, and I remember I got an investor. He invested $16,000 to a 21-year-old.
Wow.
It took me a whole year to make like $16,000 to get it and see it in one check. It was like getting like equivalent of getting, you handed me $1 million check for something I believe in. When they signed that deal, or I'm gonna take it back to me. When I got that check, I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do? Why would this person believe in me? Oh my God, I don't want to lose this person's money.
Right.
Now all of a sudden it becomes real. Like, am I a fake? Am I a fraud? Am I going to be able to do all these crazy emotions hit home? When I hear you say they guarantee, they signed a check. Were any of those emotions of doubt creeping in at all? Like, oh my God, this is...
No doubt. It just was it was more motivation.
Okay.
To what you said around, now you have an added responsibility because you're now responsible for their relationship, for their credibility, for their guarantees, and for the money that they're putting into this project. Because these projects are not cheap. It was a 10-unit, building, but it was still like $10 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so every day I would, when the staff and like I said, we have nothing more valuable than people's faith and people's trust. If that moves, this organization doesn't exist. And because of those two things, that motivated me to do that more. It was almost like I became a protector of that. Like we were not going to do anything to put them in a bad situation, no matter what.
So your integrity at the end of the day is the staple of the organization.
That's the staple.
That integrity there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I would have been on the phone with my sister like, oh, what did I get myself? Anytime someone hands me any level of responsibility, I go into a deep dive of, can I complete whatever I said I can complete, But that's cool to hear that you knew that the strength of it was the faith and the trust of the relationship.
It's the faith and the trust, and I think the motivating factor goes back to my parents, particularly my mom. She's a go-getter, or as the country would say, a whippersnapper.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't, everything is not no. No means maybe.
Yeah, I say no means maybe or not right now.
Or not right now.
You're like, maybe later.
Maybe later.
Not in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but it's never no.
It's never no.
And I think that motivating factor.
I like your mama.
Yeah, and she's like that to the day. It really motivated me because I was excited to have the partnership, and you know how in an entrepreneurial facing place, you get told a lot no.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell you no, or not right now, or maybe, and it drags and drags and drags. And then you get to a point where somebody says yes, and you don't want to let that yes go.
Nope.
And you want that yes to continue to turn into yeses and yeses and yeses. And that's what happened because they believed in what we did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, not trying to get into your business Kool-Aid, but you have the nonprofit side.
Yes.
Then you have the for-profit side.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain when the for-profit side came in and why you felt the need to add the for-profit CRCD enterprises side?
So the founders, 5 of us.
Mm-hmm. There's 5 founders.
5 founders. So it's myself, Noemi Soto.
I was going to ask about her. She's still here.
She's not with CRCD, but she's still doing good work in the community. Hugo Ortiz, Fernando Miranda.
I have a crush on him.
And Ruth Teague, I'll let him know.
Don't tell him. Whenever he would come, whenever I would see him, I would look over at least and like, best kept secret, just so you know. I kept that secret. How long do you think, you guys would have never suspected it, huh?
Oh, well, he has his charming ways with...
But I play it very cool,
You do play it cool.
I play it very cool. Anytime you walk in a room, I would text someone. Cool. Hey, he's right here. He showed up.
No. He definitely helps us to close some deals. Let's say that.
Yeah.
And
good personality.
Yeah.
So he's a founder.
He's a founder. Hugo Ortiz, Noemi Soto, myself, and Ruth Teague.
Ruth Teague. I don't know if I've met.
So Ruth Teague was co-founder, and Ruth Teague was actually my former fiance.
Okay.
And she passed at the early age of 46. And she was one of the original funders or financiers of our projects because she worked for a group called Corporation for Supportive Housing.
Okay.
And she ushered in financing projects for young people, for affordable housing projects. And she was the, pretty much the captain or pushing groups like ours and others that she's not financing you if they're not architecturally pleasing, if they don't have the same amenities that you and I would like. So our buildings have air conditioning because some people feel like people don't need air conditioning, they need fans.
Yeah.
They need to have community space. They need good lighting. It needs to be pleasing to the eye. They need walkable space. So all of these things was a priority, but she was in a position of leadership where we were able to access grants and acquisition financing to support our projects. And she went on to help finance a lot of projects for Little Tokyo Service Center and many other groups in Los Angeles that supported housing people that were unhoused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now...
And that's why Ruth's Place
is called Ruth's Place.
Correct.
Now, see, now I got to get into this part. So, she was your fiance.
Yes.
She sounds like an incredible person. She played a huge role in the community, and her vision of making sure the playing field was fair and comfortable is really beautiful. With that being said, if she was your fiance while your company is growing, how did you deal with the grief of her? This sounds like an early passing.
It was an early passing. So this year will be 15 years, or nearly 16 years ago. And so it was an early passing into the life cycle of CRCD.
Yeah. And you're still young at this point,
And
right?
I'm still young at this point.
So this is 5 years in. So you're probably 32?
I'm 32.
Around 32.
Around 32, 33.
Look at me. I'm clocking you. So how
So
are
she
you
was
dealing?
older than I.
How are you? It was unsuspected. I would
It,
imagine.
it was it was unsuspected because she was diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
She had been fighting it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So when she got more ill, that's when it became unexpected because I just never thought that it would happen. I never, lived with or had a family member, and definitely not lived with
Mm-hmm.
someone that had that terrible disease. And so for me, it was highly unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like bam.
How did you deal with the grief at the same time? Like, how did you not trying to get in there, but how do you get to that next milestone? Does your partner say fall back? Do you take a break? I don't know how.
So for me, again,
Mm-hmm.
another shift in my life. I had family support, and then I had board support, other community partners support, and of course, people thought I would fall back and just take a break.
Mm-hmm.
I think I took like 2 weeks off,
Mm-hmm.
and I got right in and
Mm-hmm.
just started working. The best thing that worked for me was to work and continue what she and I helped to start. And there were a lot of things that she wanted to see continue to happen. And so there was no one else that was going to be able to do that but me. One of them was the creation of CRCD Enterprises. That was a big piece of what she wanted to see
Mm-hmm.
happen because to sustain an organization or to be as creative as possible, you needed to have a social enterprise, an entity that had the flexibility outside of a nonprofit kind of structure, because you're restricted by the grants that you have, or you're restricted by any funder's priorities. But as a business, you can not necessarily do what you want, but you can prioritize what's needed for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating CRCD Enterprises and her being able to see us obtain our contractor's license was the pathway that she supported,
Oh,
particularly with
she
young
was able to
people.
see it
Oh
while
yeah,
she was
oh
alive.
yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
your motivation was really to fulfill that dream.
Correct.
So it was that's a beautiful story. So when you're dealing with a nonprofit, is it that the need of the social enterprises was when you're dealing with a nonprofit, you have more restricted dollars than unrestricted?
Then unrestricted.
Okay.
A lot of nonprofits, we fight hard to obtain dollars that are unrestricted,
Mm-hmm.
whereas with the social enterprise, we're able to generate income through fee-for-service contracts
Mm-hmm.
that
Like
are not
construction.
like construction,
Mm-hmm.
that are not restricted. I mean, we have to deliver,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not restricted when the income passes over as profit and overhead. We're able to use those dollars in more flexible ways. We're able to keep programs open, the lights on,
Mm-hmm.
if you may say, when there are funding restrictions that would have prohibited us from doing that. So a lot of the construction training programs like MC3, we now have a wonderful partnership with LA County
Mm-hmm.
to do lead remediation.
Mm-hmm.
We call it the lead abatement
Mm-hmm.
program. It's an excellent program. Both programs are excellent because they're pathways into the painters union,
Mm-hmm.
pathways into the labor and local LAOC, and local 300. And with lead abatement and a lot of these pathways, folks are earning prevailing wages.
That was gonna be my next question. A lot of the trades that I see you train in these jobs, when people exit the program, they're not minimum wage jobs. These
No.
are, what would you say the average, like?
So for us, if we have for lead abatement, we'll start with that program. When they're doing lead remediation in the training program, which is roughly about 700 to 1,200 hours
Mm-hmm.
of training. So when
Mm-hmm.
they leave us as an apprentice level 2 or 3,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big deal on your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So while they're in the program, they're earning anywhere between $30 and $50 an hour.
That's great.
Well,
Great.
with benefits.
With benefits.
With benefits.
Wow. That's great.
And that's while in the training.
Mm-hmm.
So when they graduate from us and they move on to the painters union, and now they're at a apprentice level 3, let's say, they're at $55 an hour and above when they're working on a prevailing wage project.
Wow.
And most, if not all, of the affordable housing projects that are funded by state bond money has a project labor agreement or community agreement in place where contractors have to pay those wages.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Very impressive. And then my last question I have in my head is does CRCD Enterprises end up doing, if not all, majority of the build development projects for you guys?
So that's the goal. That's always been the goal, that we're the go-to general contractor for the development team. We're a little ways away from doing a ground-up project of that size. Because
I've seen
you
your
have
ground ups;
to,
they look crazy.
yeah, and because you have to get bonding, and bonding requires everything, including your kids. And they go real deep in. It's just not a credit score.
Okay.
They want to know everything. And they want even more guarantees.
Okay.
And
Woo.
so we're getting to where we can bond to build a $25-30 million construction project. We're doing a lot of rehab now. We do come in as a sub to do a lot of the interior, exterior decorative painting or professional painting. So our guys and girls are earning prevailing wages, but we're close to doing ground up. We are general contractors on the last two projects that they're doing. They're all, rehab projects right now. And so, the team is moving forward. It's a slow grind. I mean, our team wants to get at it now, but that's not quite how it works and how it's set up.
I love it. I love it all. So where can people find out more information? Did we cover everything, or is there future projects or anything we need to know about coming up?
No, there's just
Ongoing
construction projects. I mean, we do have our business source center that's contracted with the city of Los Angeles, where it's working with businesses to get them tapped into resources and
helping
trainings,
other entrepreneurs.
I will say what's new is that we created the CRCD Community Loan Fund, where we will become a lender in the community, separate entity, of course, for-profit entity, so that we can work with banks and larger community development financial institutions to get money into the hands of entrepreneurs and small businesses to help them thrive. And so that's new on the horizon that we're working on, but we have it set up. We are now licensed with the state of California to do lending, and we did receive a technical assistance grant with the Treasury Department to get our community development financial institution certification going.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So where can everybody keep up with Coalition for Responsible Community Development?
So one easy way is our website. It's kind of long. That is www.coalitionrcd.
You can say it right into that.
It's www.coalitionrcd.org. And that's the same social media handle for Instagram and
Coalition RCD.
Meta and all that. Coalition RCD. You can see I don't use it that much.
Yeah, and then for the enterprises side, where would they find out more information?
So more information for the enterprise side is www.crcdent.com.
Okay.
And for partners, you have www.crcdpartners.com.
Okay. Now, if someone was to go to one of the sites, are there links to link them all together to some degree?
Yes,
okay.
You'll still be able to get to each of the sites.
Each of the sites.
But you can learn more about each of those companies and who's leading those companies and so forth.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for feeding me. I'm going to finish the meal the second we wrap. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate hearing your story from the horse's mouth directly. No more rumors on how and when and da-da-da-da-da-da. Thank you so much for your time. We really are thankful for what you do for the community and for our youth.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.